Namaste friends, you are watching Music Diaries Nepal and we are back with another episode. Misconception or misunderstood imitation by Newar drummers sometimes caused chaos during performances and lead to quarrels among players of different localities. Therefore, this comparative study aims at understanding various ways of transmission of several local Newar drumming traditions of the Kathmandu Valley. Dhimaybājā being a case study, I'll examine similarities and differences in the drumming tradition of Kathmandu and Bhaktapur to find out why these musical instruments share the same name but sound very different during performances. I'll compare the instrument itself, different other instruments in the ensemble and their playing patterns, and the repertoire of Dhimaybājā. The outcome will not only help us to find out our questions but have capacity to trace the origin of Newar music. The methodological foundation of this study is first and foremost performance training in both Bhaktapur and Kathmandu Dhimaybājā traditions. I learned Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā repertoire with Vishnu Bahadur Mananda at Kathmandu University Department of Music. My Guruji, Professor Dr. Gert Matthews Wagner and other colleagues further guided me in practical and theoretical aspects of Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā. In the course of this study, I became acquainted with Likesh Maharjan, who kindly shared his knowledge as a local Dhimay band leader, taught me the Dhimaybājā repertoire of Kathmandu, and allowed me to participate in many different ritual and processional performances. I would like to thank them all for their generosity and willingness to share their knowledge. Now, let us begin. Instrument and playing technique. The processional barrel drum, Dhimay of Kathmandu, is made of a hollow tree trunk. Their non-standard size varies from 35 to 42 cm in length, 23 to 27 cm left height, and 16 to 23 cm right height in diameter. These days, Kathmandu drummers prefer a larger body because of other fascinating Dhimay traditions like Bhaktapur, Patan, and Kirtipur. The right height is called Nasadya, god of music and dance, and the left Mankha. Literally, Ma represents mother and Kha means place, but Bernardi states the term Mankha generally seems to represent a construction of Mahakala. However, according to informants in the southern parts of Kathmandu, the translation of Mankha is mother's place. The processional cylindrical drum, Dhimay of Bhaktapur, is also made of hollow tree trunk, brass, tin, and copper. Their size varies from 45 to 50 cm in diameter and 55 to 60 cm in length. The right height is called Nasa and left Haima, destructive aspect of Nasadya. In both traditions, left height carries a tuning paste. Tuning paste helps to create low bass sound which causes distinction between Nasa and Haima or Mankha. Tuning paste or masala is made of ground resin of the sal tree, castor seeds or alapu, and mustard oil. These days, Kathmandu Kulus or drum makers directly buy and import these tuning paste from Indian markets. The left height in both traditions, Kathmandu and Bhaktapur, is played with the flat hand. Basically, it produces two major sounds. First, open resonating sound played at the center or rim of the drum, pronounced as ghu in Kathmandu or ghe, ghu, ka, etc. in Bhaktapur. Secondly, the damped close sound played below the center, pronounced as kho or kha. The right height is played with a can spiral named Tahakutsa or Papukati in Kathmandu Newari and Pucha in Bhaktapur. In the absence of can Pucha, Bhaktapur players use a Dhimay Kachicha or straight tweak. Similar to the left height, it actually produces several sounds, but local musicians conceive only a single sound called ta or ta. It is played at the edge of the skin and has a higher pitch. And second stroke, na, also called as na ji, is played at the center of the skin and has brighter resonating sound. Both of these dental sounds are most distinct, precise, and audible in Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā. The last syllable is a powerful combination of both dental ta and guttural gu, known as dhya in Kathmandu or dha in Bhaktapur, produced by hitting both membranes at the same time. Now, as a conclusion, we can say that one of the major differences is the size of the instrument itself. Because of its small size, Kathmandu Dhime has higher pitch and is easier to carry during processions, whereas Bhaktapur Dhime covers most of the frequency in the music and is able to make people dance. Cymbals. An idophone consists of a concave brass disc. It produces a loud crashing sound when stuck with a stick or with another cymbal. As in other countries of South Asia, cymbal plays a vital role accompanying drums. Newar drums are never played without cymbals accompanying them. Specific drum requires specific cymbal for keeping time and giving the prescribed timbre. In earlier days, cymbals were made by two different Newar castes, depending on the metals used to produce the alloys. The Newar Buddhist gold and silversmith Sakya made bronze cymbals. Brass cymbals were made in the workshop of the Newar Tamrakar caste. Nowadays, most of the brass cymbals are imported from Bhojpur. In comparison with old cymbals made in Kathmandu Valley, the Bhojpur brass cymbals are of inferior quality. The knowledge of making high-quality bronze cymbals has been lost with the last Sakya cymbal maker of Nagbahal Patan, who died around 1990 and strictly refused having his skills documented by Great Matthews Wagner, who had approached him 2 years earlier. Depending on the locality, dhime drumming is accompanied by two different types of brass cymbals, pushya and shisha. Pushya cymbals measure approximately around 14 inches in diameter. They have a large round boss and are played not by crashing them together head-on, but by gently sliding along the flat surface. Usually they highlight the regular meter. Occasionally, they synchronize with the drumming pattern. Shisha is a thin brass disc of approximately 6 inches in diameter, having a flat boss. Also, shisha playing highlights the meter by playing the same pattern as bhushya, but in double speed. Shisha is played only in Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā. In Kathmandu, local Dhimaybājā is only accompanied by pairs of pushya cymbals. The combination of two different pairs of cymbals playing simultaneously at single and double speed creates special excitement and drive that are special for Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā. In Bhaktapur, the standard cycle of pushya covers 4 counts and is played horizontally. The first stroke is the most accentuated one. One hand goes up and the other hand goes down, covering 2 counts. We can also perceive a continuous ringing sound between the first and second counts. As soon as first note is struck, the pushya players continues to keep both pairs in loose contact, which causes this ringing vibration. This way of pushya playing is also common in other sacred music tradition of the Newars. On the third and fourth counts, the players gradually bring the cymbals back into their initial position, slightly hitting them together on these notes. As we can see in this video, the Bhaktapur cymbals are suspended by a thread that is tightened around a small stick. The stick crosses the stressed finger of the player and the cymbal hangs down below the hand, where its movement and vibration are easily controlled by the palm and outer finger of the hand. In Kathmandu, pushya cymbals are played vertically with a strong breezy effect. The initial 4 notes of the pattern are not articulated as separate accents but linked by a brushing movement, causing a continuous swishing sound. Only the 5th note of the cycle is clearly accentuated. The striking oral differences between the Kathmandu and Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā are caused by their different manners of cymbal playing style and its pattern. Compositions. This chapter examines similarities and differences in the Dhimay tradition of Kathmandu and Bhaktapur by comparing compositions of both localities. Starting with Diolagu and moving forward to Ya, Gaon, Ma compositions, I will analyze and discuss similarities and differences of some of the most prominent compositions with the help of transcriptions. To enable composition, the following transcription of Kathmandu and Bhaktapur repertoire have been aligned. Critical patterns are printed in bold letters. To comprehend the following discussion, the reader needs to acquaint himself with the sounds and strokes of both Dhimaybājā tradition. And for those who are new to this channel, I highly recommend you all to watch my previous video on an oral notation systems so that you can understand the transcriptions properly, which I will use to compare and analyze both traditions. Comparing Diolagu from both localities. Dia in Newari means god or goddesses and Lagu is to offer. These compositions are used to invoke the residing power of a god, shrine, holy and sacred objects to receive their blessing and aid. Wagner states, this piece is used like a rather complex telephone number to focus the drummer's mind on Nasa Dia. Full Diolagu must be played before and after every performance and procession, plus whenever they meet any important god while marching in a procession. In Kathmandu, there are 5 Diolagu invocations played as set. First for god of music and dance, Nasa Dia, and fifth they especially play for Ganesh, Swambhunath and Harati. Diolagu number 2, 3 and 4 are without identity, but Diolagu number 1 for Nasa Dia is played more frequently. In Bhaktapur, they have one single Diolagu divided into 3 sections. The complete Diolagu is called Taha Diolagu. The section starts with Gunta Tagun is called Chichahagu Diolagu. Sitegegu, in making Diolagu are the last 2 lines of the complete Diolagu. Similar to Kathmandu, they mostly play Chichehagu Diolagu while passing the shrine on the way without stopping the procession. As we can see in the transcription, when we compare the final Diolagu section of Bhaktapur with the variety of Kathmandu invocations, a striking similarity is found only with the Kathmandu Diolagu for Nasa Dia. These are exactly similar in structure and strokes. Only the drumming syllables differ to some extent. The playing sounds similar. It appears that both Chichahagu Diolagu and Diolagu for Nasa Dia is indeed the oldest and ritually most important among all Diolagu patterns of the Kathmandu Valley. It is dedicated to Nasa Dia. As every Newar settlement has at its center a shrine dedicated to Nasa Dia, it can be assumed that the Lord of Music and Dance has always occupied a most prominent position among all gods and goddesses of the Kathmandu Valley, hence the importance of this invocation. Its musical essence is considered so precious that it has not been allowed to change over time and locality. Even in small settlements where there is no Nasa shrine, Borikhel for example, this essential Diolagu has been preserved and is played for invoking Nasa Dia, who resides in a ritually most important dhime of that locality and receives offering in this drum, if not in a shrine. Considering the presence of this Diolagu pattern in all Newar Dhimaybājā traditions examined so far, we can say for sure that direct oral transmission must have occurred among members of these localities. It may have been formal with a proper apprenticeship or informal by way of hearing patterns by chance during festival of another locality and attempting to incorporate those foreign patterns at home. The question remains what this pattern does to musicians and other participants involved in a ritual procession. According to Wagner, the playing of musical invocations actualizes the spiritual power of the gods perceived as residing in their shrines. When musicians arrive and play Diolagu, this power manifests itself in the mind of all participants. During Newar town rituals, music became a spiritual device. If we are searching for root components of Newar culture beyond the boundaries of one of the 3 Malla kingdoms, it can be safely said that this ancient Diolagu pattern and its concept of application constitute such a basic component. It defines Newar culture until today. comparing Bhaktapur Ma with Kathmandu Gaon number 3. Ma comprises of many short lively compositions. My Bhaktapur Dhime teacher defines Ma as garland of flowers, Swama or Shima, which literally refers to beauty. Bhaktapur musicians consider Ma as their main piece. It consists of many chinas connecting in a meaningful manner with tempo changes and several climaxes. There are no such group compositions available in Kathmandu, but they do play some Nya and Gaon compositions in series. In Kathmandu, Gu is played during procession after any particular Nya compositions. Gu compositions are repeated only once. Nya and Gu compositions of Kathmandu Dhimaybājā piece are similar to China compositions of Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā, whereas in Bhaktapur Dhimaybājā, Gu compositions are altered with the standard Nya patterns. Some of Nya compositions, Gu can be repeated several times. Players have a great time while playing these Gu compositions. Although there are few irregularities, this study shows that Ma of Bhaktapur and Nya Gaon of Kathmandu are from the same source, as they employ many similar patterns or compositions. Coming back to the composition, Bhaktapur Ma and Kathmandu Gaon number 3. Line number 3 to 6 of Ma resembles Gaon number 3. The traditional section of Ma caused a musical chaos as it caused the Busha meter, throwing the cymbal players into confusion during every performances. Gerd Matthews Wagner, having learned this version from Ganesh Bahadur, later on came up with a corrected version that allows smooth playing in meter. This version was discussed and accepted. By coincidence, this corrected version is almost identical with the Kathmandu version. Comparing Bhaktapur Ma with Kathmandu Gaon number 1. This is another example of an obvious misunderstood section of Ma that causes another musical chaos. Wagner corrected this and his gurus gladly accepted this version. Comparison with the Kathmandu version shows difference in the choice of drumming syllables but almost similar structure. Such occurrences are typical for oral transmission where mistake tends to creep into the memory and destroys the structure. In consequence, such mistakes are unknowingly taught to the next generations of drummers. Comparing similar linking passages from Bhaktapur and Kathmandu. Both traditions of Dhime playing know a similar transition that serves as a linking passage between two divisions in a composition. In Bhaktapur, this transition connects to chapters of Ma that are played in extremely different tempi. In Kathmandu, an almost identical transition is used to connect Gaon number 3 with Nya number 4. The Bhaktapur transition's last line is repeated several times with gradually increasing tempo until the desired fast tempo is reached. Before this accelerated last line, suspense is built up by means of offbeat accents, causing suspense that finds release in the regular pattern of accelerated last line. The total effect is a strikingly elegant transition toward a new rhyme of Bhaktapur's longest composition, Ma. The transition pattern connecting Nya 3 and 4 seems distorted during its last two lines, but Kathmandu drummers somehow managed to create the desired suspense just before entering Nya number 4. Both Bhaktapur and Kathmandu have their own ways to play Nya 4 processions. In Bhaktapur, Nya is a fixed composition with variations. It is repeated many times and is interrupted by Gu compositions, China and Dialagu. Whereas in Kathmandu, specific Nya acts as an introductory piece for particular Gaon compositions. The number of repetition of Nya depends on the lead player. Comparing Bhaktapur Ma with Kathmandu Gaon number 7. With the exception of a few drumming syllables, this section of Bhaktapur Ma and Kathmandu Gaon number 7 are identical, but their context differs. As Ma takes 12 minutes to perform, it is occasionally cut short. In that case, players jump from this section to Nya at the very end of Ma. In Kathmandu, the same pattern reappears as Gaon number 7. Depending on processional need, this Gau can be included in several Nyas that doesn't have their own Gau composition. Although there are many compositions from both localities which have similarities to a large or small extent, but now I'll move forward to the conclusion. By comparing repertoires of two different localities, Kathmandu and Bhaktapur, it is impossible to say where Dhimaybājā originated. Perhaps a comparative study of all Dhimaybājā traditions in other Newar settlements could solve this question. Nevertheless, this study reveals many secrets of Dhimaybājā and Newar drumming. One of the key differences between Bhaktapur and Kathmandu Dhimaybājā is the size of the instrument and the use of cymbals. We can say that the approach towards meter identifies the respective drumming styles. This comparative study proves that many differences between both Dhimi traditions must have been caused by misconception or misunderstood imitation. For example, a farmer from one locality attending a festival in another locality could have heard and remembered a specific drumming pattern, wanting to include it in his home repertoire without comprehending the original meaning and context of this pattern. As farmers are in habit of enjoying more drinks than usual during festivals, his memory would have been likely to be impaired. The borrowed pattern may have changed on the way home. However, this delightful way of oral transmission from one locality to another is still in practice. Ritually important patterns like the Guntatakun section of Dialagu identifies Newar culture until today. Its use, function, and application are similar in all Newar settlements. All compositions compared in this study seems to be an ancient patterns carrying the essence of Newar civilization. By examining the admirable development of Bhaktapur's Ma, we can arguably say that this is perhaps the grandest and most accomplished among all Dhimaybājā compositions, whereas Kathmandu Dhimaybājā focused on ritual processional compositions. Other drumming traditions. Similar to Dhimaybājā, there are many other music traditions of Nepal where the ensemble shares the same name but sounds different during performances. One of such examples is Dafa, Newar devotional song genre dating back to 15th-17th centuries. In Dafa as well, the name of all ragas and talas are the same, but the singing, playing style and the performance structure differ from one locality to another. Lastly, what I would like to know from you all is, should we standardize this traditional music genre of Nepal or leave it as it is? Let me know your thoughts in the comment. Hey friends, if you have come this far, then you guys are truly custodians of Newar heritage and totally deserve a bonus. In the beginning, I have mentioned 5 major strokes of Dhimaybājā. Beside those, there is one more syllable which is very rare and it highly fascinates me. It is also known as Ghen in Bhaktapur and Ji in Patan. It is played by placing pucha in the nasa height and you hit the bass. The distorted sound is a matter of choice in Patan, but in Bhaktapur there is one Gu composition which uses this syllable. Rather than playing that composition, I've developed something new and hope you like it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, then do like and share this video and subscribe this channel. Thank you.